Welcome to FM Corner. I'm Danny Koontz, Director of Relationship Management for Windy City Equipment and host of the podcast. With me today, very special guest, Jason Latimer. We're going to talk today some about, he's kind of been on both sides of the fence, been on the service side, now on the facility side for a large restaurant company. He also co-hosts a podcast of Commercial Kitchen Chronicles. So good conversation today about the business in both sides. Jason, thank you so much for taking the time.
Danny, thank you for having me.
You bet. Let's jump right in. Kind of talk a little bit about your career, kind of start to where you are today.
Yeah, so my career, the foundation of my career has always been hospitality. So, since I was able to work, I've always been involved in something, whether it's restaurants, hotels, movie theaters. I've always worked in customer service and hospitality. Did that for about 18 years. And then we came up on 2008, 2009. There was a little bit of a recession for Southwest Florida. So we wanted to get out of town and reinvent myself while we were out. So my wife joined the service. We ended up on the West Coast of the United States for 4 years. So I took that opportunity to go to technical school in the daytime for those 4 years and continued working food equipment or food service at night. After I completed my two technical college, one was for facility maintenance engineer, which is kind of touches on everything. It's pretty prime for going into being like a Class A building engineer or whatnot. And then I went to school for HVAC and refrigeration. When I got out of there, lo and behold, I didn't end up in high rise. I ended up at a restaurant chain that's national, that's been around for a long time as a facility maintenance technician. So I ended up cutting my teeth my first 3 years, just kind of having to do everything as this maintenance tech. They weren't necessarily at the time, that you kind of got to get all you can possibly get out of this equipment. So I learned, when I felt that something needed to be replaced, that wasn't always the case or the budget. So I needed to double down and figure it out and make it work. And I got really resilient. I was responsible for working on the cooking equipment, the refrigeration, the AC, some light electrical, light plumbing, even property management and maintenance as in painting and things like that, lighting, fixing potholes in the driveway and things like that. So that's where I ended up. That's what I did for the last 10 years. The first 3 years was in-house. The last several was with a service company. And since then, since March, I've finally transitioned. I finally transitioned from service to being a facilities manager, which I've been trying to do for the last 3 years.
It's great. It's great to be on both sides. I think, I was a facility manager for most of my life, and now I'm on the service side. And I think there's value in being on both sides of the fence, if you will, because you have a better understanding, not only of what your responsibility is, but what the person on the other end of the phone or face to face
Absolutely
needs to know. Absolutely. Kind of what's the difference? Yeah, I mean, obviously there's difference when you're a service tech, you're doing the work, and facilities, you're more managing the work. But biggest difference, I guess, from one side to the other for you.
From service to facilities, it's for me, it's kind of a little bit of a trifecta because of my previous experience in the restaurant and then servicing a restaurant and now being responsible for educating and supporting my restaurants with knowing both sides of the coin there. The biggest difference is there isn't much. If you work on food equipment, then you are part of the hospitality equilibrium or something like that. You're part of the same world, and you need each other. It's yin and yang. Well, the issue I'd say is that there's more pie out there than we can eat. There's more restaurants and concepts out there than facilities companies can service and things like that. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. So, there's obviously differences, and it's really communication and expectations are the differences. Is what I'm understanding, what I'm learning.
Is there a part of you that is now as a facility manager in the restaurant industry, when you're dealing with a vendor or whatever, you want to just take your past experience and say, let me just tell you how to fix it?
I deal with that every day. And I've had to, I was so excited to become a facilities manager that I found myself feeling like I needed to qualify myself and I needed to start over is what it was after speaking to some of my mentors. It's like, just kind of just get in there, keep your head low, observe, chime in when you're asked to chime in, or if you see something going in the wrong direction, and then give your 2 cents if they're open to that.
Sure. That's always difficult. And lots
It
of
is.
facility managers used to be techs. It's just kind of a progression sometimes that
Yeah.
happens and that becomes hard. That was easier for me because I never was tech. So my
Mm.
standard answer was, listen, I'm paying you to figure out what the problem is. I'm not going to tell you that's not what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to get it
Yeah,
done.
I agree.
But I've talked to a lot of people who did tech work and then moved to the facility side, and they said it was one of the things that took a little while to kind of, I want to just jump in and tell them what to do, but that's really not it. And to kind of work with, like you said, if you're asked, I think that's a key point in that
Absolutely,
as part of
absolutely.
that process. What's been the hardest thing to learn on the facility side of the business or grasp, I guess is a better term?
I think for me, juggling all the meetings, and because of how hard I tried to get into facilities and where I landed, it's at such a large and advanced level where the facilities company actually or the hospitality group actually has a whole development department that has construction, design, engineering,
Sure.
permitting, and all that stuff. So it's where I'm at. I thought I was going to end up at a small kind of a small mom and pop where I had a dozen stores, not 100+ stores. And, I was just going to probably have a little bit more hands on what I'm used to, my comfort. But now it's a lot of emails, a lot of chasing after information from municipalities and keeping everything compliant, which is great. You're right. It's a different challenge, but I think my experience on the restaurant side and then at a service company side helps me kind of differentiate the external noise that most restaurants would deal with because they're there to do customer service and provide a service and food, and they just want the facilities aspects to be handled confidently and not have to, they want to do their part,
Sure.
so I have to be able to decipher a lot of emails on a daily basis, offers, and doing technical audits of notes and making sure that we're not a blank check for our providers, and that I am verifying maintenance and things of that nature. I am reading the notes, and I do understand what your tech is saying because I've trained techs and I've managed the PM department on a
Sure.
state level.
I think that's really important. And two, you're kind of managing both sides. You're holding your
Yeah,
vendors accountable, obviously.
sure.
There's also a time when you're going to hold your own restaurants accountable, and
100%.
and you have to do both, and you have to,
Absolutely.
and then that's difficult sometimes. But I think people want communication, they want honesty, uh, transparency. That's what they're looking for, and if you do that on both sides, I think it's a successful journey.
I
That
agree.
works absolutely. What's the best and worst part when you were a tech? What's the best and what was the worst?
Um, I'd say the worst is when expectations aren't first hashed out
Yeah.
in your relationship with the customer when you're on a service side. And I would say that it a lot of service companies have people there that have not worked in hospitality or customer
Mhm.
service. Um, not a lot of technicians have worked at a drive-through or in a restaurant. Some of them have gone straight into that. So
Sure.
um, there's two types of technicians I was told when I was in at the engineering school, and they're like, there's technicians that just want to get in there and do their job, keep their head low and get out. And then there's technicians that want to do that, but they also want to interact with the customer and train and try to teach them if they're open to it and educate them. And you're interested in what's going on there if you're into customer service. And my previous life in hospitality has kind of been a foundation of how I operated in a service company and moving forward from there.
It's great. It's a great point. And I'm thinking about, as you were saying, two kinds of techs. I'm thinking on the facility side, one of the key issues that I think helped me and helped others that I've spoken to over time is understanding a facility manager. I will never get it done fast enough, quick enough, or cheap enough. Okay.
Absolutely.
Just accept that that's a given and then go do the job. And
Absolutely.
that's really the way you got to do it because if you're fighting that, you don't win. You just got to understand. And over time, you hope that your success and the ability to help people when they need it and make their daily job better becomes the item. But
True, true. That and that's the positive part. The best part of it is the customer interaction, being able to come in clutch. You know, you always how Nick Cribb says, you want to under promise and over
over
deliver.
delivered,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and showing up, and getting people up and running before lunch or before an event or before dinner or before going into a busy weekend. There's nothing that feels better, and it all boils down to service. If
Sure,
and if you do everything with service in the middle, you're always going to succeed. You're never going to fall short,
sure.
because of
That's exactly
of
right.
taking care of people.
That's exactly right. Who are your mentors, Jason?
Um, I have I have my old boss VP, and his name is James Morgan, and he's had a profound impact on me. With he's got a lot of good sayings and a lot of experience, and he's around my age, but he does help me put things in perspective. My my old colleague that I've known for several years, David Jones, he's a sales director at my previous job, and he's very wise. He won't say that, but I listen to him very closely. He's a good friend, and we have maybe different backgrounds. We're the same age, but we have a lot of the same likes and a lot of different things and whatnot. And then, I have my friends and other men from church that I converse with for a grander view on things. And
Sure.
then, my wife is a mentor to me. She holds me fast. She keeps me straight, and she's a hard worker and a career oriented and a family oriented woman, wife and mother. So
Sure. That's great. Outstanding. Kind of give me one thing in facilities that you're kind of focusing on in this newest opportunity that you have that let's say a year from now you'd say, okay, Danny, I got it. Here's something I've worked on or I'm working on now, and a year from now, I got it.
yeah, my biggest focus is listening to the stores and kind of hearing what their pain points are, what their goals are, and giving them options. Hey, we've had the same vendor for a decade or two. We don't have many options. Um, or we deal with situations where the default is just because we've always done this. So it's really getting into these stores, introducing myself, creating a relationship, understanding what they need, and using my experience and on their side and on the service side to help them understand the relationship that they need to have with the providers so that they can get the stuff taken care of. It's a necessary evil, right? There's cost to
Sure.
that, and
Absolutely.
everybody would like to just see equipment work the way it's supposed to work, and that's it. But as long as you use it, it's gonna break. If you don't use it, it'll always work. You can sit there and stare at it. But it's and trying to help the stores understand where your provider's coming from and just best practices.
What to do. That's great. And I think one of the things I learned at Ruby Tuesday early in my career, I would go to restaurants to do walkthroughs. Okay.
Yeah.
And most of the managers, when you showed up, they're like, okay, he's going to do a walkthrough and he's going to give me a list of stuff. I never did that.
Mm.
I would say, you tell me, you show me, what do you have a problem with? Because if they took me to the ice machine and they showed me, quote unquote, a problem, and I could tell it hadn't been maintained and we weren't doing PM like we should, or the vendor wasn't, or whatever, they brought me an issue and I'm responding to the issue. I got much more support and much more success that way than walking in and making a list of 20 items to fix and hand it to them. That didn't do any good.
Yeah.
Let them show me, why is there grease in my gutter? Because your cleaner on the roof is taking that grease and throwing it down the gutter instead of bringing it off the roof. That's why.
Yeah.
Take an issue and then try to help provide a response, and you get a much better, you know, expectation from them, I guess,
Yeah.
because now they're asking the
Get better
question
results.
and now you're providing them a solution. Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah, I let me add to that. When as a technician, because I was kind of multifaceted, I didn't just work on hot side, but I worked on the cold side. I
Hmm.
was used to going in, being called in for an HVAC unit. So on my way down from fixing that, I would ask them, "Hey, do you have an upcoming inspection? Um, it's toward the end of the quarter. I know you're going into the next. Or is there a list of things?" I don't mind asking them for a list, but I'm used to asking them, "What are your pain points?" I'm not asking for everything, nor
Sure.
am I looking for everything, but having that conversation with them and understanding, what their frequencies are and what's important to them by asking them what's up and coming. If you have, did a health department walk in, or do you have a self-performing or maintenance schedule of health department walking through? I think they call it like EcoServe here. They
Yeah.
pay so in case the real health department walks in.
Sure.
So I always try to see, hey, did we cover everything? Is there anything else you need?
Sure. And I think any of that communication information is really important. Maybe you're looking at their fryer and you say, hey, yeah, you're kind of right. You do need a new fryer.
Hmm.
However, we need a lease extension. And
Yeah,
then I can get a brand new fryer for you, rather than just say, well, we can't right now, because that's not helping them. That's not giving them the info. But yes, I agree. You need one.
yeah,
We need a lease extension in this location as well. And that's being worked on. As soon as it's done, then I'm just making that up as an
sure.
example, but giving them the information so they understand, I think is critical as well. What's the most successful thing in your career, Jason, that you're proud of?
Um, I'd say it's my picking blue collar, being able to realize the American dream, where I went from working several jobs around the clock, not being able to, you know, be able to be home for homework and the weekends and things like that, and choosing this profession that is given me just so much blessings that I can work normal hours and be on call sometimes, and be there for the kids, be able to have experiences with the family, not just work around the clock, And
Sure.
I'd say being able to volunteer and just having time, that work life balance comes from being intentional and finding something you don't necessarily have to like, or love, but you should find something you like and see where that fits in with your goals, not just professional goals, but your family goals. Because I've chosen hospitality and blue collar, and now I'm in facilities. All those things were leading to me being able to spend more time with my family, be able to go experience things, go be able to volunteer at church and in the community. So I'd say that's one of my biggest successes with this professional career.
That is great. Outstanding. And my last question, give me your go-to saying, or what is, on your desk that you look at every day that may be something that someone said or something you kind of live by.
Well, I internalize, there's a lot of great sayings out there and they're all turned into memes and posters and
Sure.
inspiration. I keep it pretty simple. I call it the three F's: faith, family, facilities. Before I walk out the door, I think, thank God, just in general that
Hmm.
I was born in this country, that, I have these opportunities and the resources to go look for things that I know that I could be proud of, that my kids can see me work hard and be proud of, my wife can be proud of. Um, that's my faith. And I believe that, I'm blessed with this career. My family, just knowing that again, that, they're proud of me and that I'm doing something that allots me time to spend with them. But that I'm also this is not just my career, it's my hobby. I love facilities. I always have. I'll scream to the rooftop about facilities and blue collar and all the trades. And then facilities. I love facilities. It's, where a lot of people are just can't wait to take their PTO to go on a cruise and go do this. I divvy up my time. My hobbies are talking to people, being on my podcast, promoting the trades, and just making sure that when I speak that I'm respected and that what my words are trusted and I'm considered credible. So I spend my own time and my own money to go to events, conferences, continuing education. My facility certificate from the University of Washington, that's on the other coast. So that's there at 6 to 9. For me over here, it was 9 to midnight for a year going to night school.
Sure.
Is it an IFMA or a RIFMA certificate? No, but before I wanted to make sure before I got into this that I kind of had a concept and that I did invest in myself. And I think it's a testament to whoever wants to work with me and have a professional relationship with me that I do try to come prepared. I do try to research and I do try to, take my time and organically go through the paces of what I'm doing so that when I get to you, great, he has a certificate, but does he have experience? you know, if is this guy going to sit here and we're going to have to spend all this money on training him because he's a greenhorn or, because he's just here to get paid to learn? No, I show up with credentials because I was intentional to go get them. No one had to pay me. Yes, and I wanted them to be, hey, I don't know anything much from going to tech school, but I don't have any bad habits and I want to learn how you want things done, but I always try to be considerate about the partnership I go into, whether it's with my mentors or with coworkers or with with my colleagues at my work. I want to make sure that I'm carrying my own weight. And even though that everybody has their own they have their own quirks or what they're good at. It's my manager's job to figure out what I'm good at and what this person's good at and to give tasks and stuff like that. Where I fail or not fail, that's a strong word. Where I lack in experience, I know to rely on people that have the experience. For instance, I share my state with another RFM who's got 20 years of restaurant experience before he became an RFM in the same company. So he knows the culture, he knows the processes and things like that. He doesn't know the technical stuff. So I try to, be considerate and make sure that I can feed into him, pour into his cup, and he does the same with me. So it's a relationship you're going to have with people, and you could bring nothing, or you can be intentional and bring something and show intentionality.
Sure. That's outstanding, outstanding. And I think, on the restaurant side, as we mentioned, the folks in your restaurant are your customer. That's
Sure,
who it is.
absolutely.
That is your customer, and nothing better than, as you said, helping those people. And maybe it's just one today,
Yeah,
maybe 10 things went wrong, but that one person that called and said, "Hey man, you really bailed me out of a jam here, and I really appreciate it." Mate, that's the job.
yeah, makes my day.
Facilities is hard. It's a hard job. It's
Yeah,
very difficult. And you do a lot of chasing and a lot of explaining and so on, but it is to serve others and to help them be better. If the people in your restaurants are doing well and so on, you're going to do well. That's
absolutely.
exactly it. Well, I certainly appreciate the time, Jason. I wish you nothing but the best in your new role and opportunity, and you're going to be a big star in that. We've had conversations just talking about facilities in general and
Definitely.
so on, and I think you're going to be a great asset to your company. So I appreciate you being on our FM Corner today. And we thank everybody for listening, and we look forward to speaking to you again. Thank you very much.